proudest day and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears. Let's Talk Rallying, episode 4. I'm once again joined by Conor Edwards and Adam Hall. Lads, you're very welcome.
Thanks Kevin. Good to be here.
In this episode, we'll catch up with Niall Mc Gonigle from Omagh Motorclub. We'll also catch up with William Creighton as he prepares to start his WRC campaign this weekend in Sweden. We'll also catch up with some a wee bit more technical maybe this time, as we talk with Paul Murphy. He's one of the development engineers with Gazoo Toyota, and also Tim Hoare from Michelin. But more of that later.
Kevin, before we go to our guests, I just want to say that we start today's podcast by touching on the tragic events at last Sunday's Killarney Rally. Rallying, it's a sport that we love, and it's heartbreaking to hear when a life is lost as a result of someone just out enjoying their hobby. Our thoughts are with Eoin McCarthy's family and friends, and also his co-driver, Daniel O'Brien, at this sad time. And we're also thinking of those who assisted at the scene of the accident.
Yeah, such a tragic, heart goes out to everyone there at the moment. So not a lot more we can say, but I suppose where we need to start is I spoke with Niall Mc Gonigle from Omagh Motorclub. He told us about Fivemiletown, Samsonas Fivemiletown Rally, which is on this weekend. But he wanted to start off by offering his condolences to Eoin McCarthy's friends and family.
Right, Kevin, anything goes on like that in our sport, it's awful. It's sad, and there's no words to explain it. I was at the event myself, and I mean, it brings us all back nearly to 2019. It's the same feeling. The whole service area was quiet, and everything just be stopped. And we didn't obviously know at the time what was going on. We just knew it was a serious accident. But look, on behalf of Omagh Motorclub and myself and everybody, we send the condolences, because it's definitely not a nice thing for rallying, and especially not for us this week. We're trying to run an event, and obviously we're thinking that in the back of our minds, and it's not definitely not nice. So condolences to the McCarthy family and everybody in the outer circle.
Absolutely, and we have to remember the co-driver too. He's going to have difficult days ahead as well too. So he's in our thoughts and prayers as well there too. So.
He's going to have bad memories, and it's going to carry on with him the rest of his life. So. Our thoughts with him also.
That's for sure. So, what's in store now for people turning up now this week? Say competitors. What's the layout of the stages and for this weekend now? This on Samsonas Fivemiletown Rally.
Well, look, we try every year to better it, Kevin. It's not easy. We're up north. We kind of struggling with forests. We don't have a lot. To go and say have another new stage this year or another new stage next year, so we're kind of battling within the same forest.
Mm-hmm.
And we're always back to the original classics, because you can't really leave something that's good. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So
yes,
we're back again. We have the usual suspects. We're lucky to have 7 miles of Jenkin, which is a fantastic stage. I don't think there's a stage like it anywhere else. It's fast, and then there's a technical bit in the middle, and then it goes back fast before the end.
Mm-hmm.
We actually got another half a mile at the end this year. Mm-hmm. We made a new lay-by for the flying finish car and stuff, and we got the diggers in and made a new lay-by just to get that extra bit of length,
Mm-hmm.
So no, that's interesting. So they leave the Ecclesville and they go to the first stage, which is Jenkin.
Uh-huh.
So straight in, there's no messing about, straight into the 7 miler.
Uh-huh.
And they leave there, and they actually go to a very, very short stage, which is next to Jenkin, then it's smaller fad.
Oh, right, yes.
And they do it. It's only 1.5 mile, so it's a very short blast. But there's a lot on it. A lot of boys have been caught in it in the past.
Yes.
Like Shane McGirr and both Adrian Harrington have both been caught in it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
They leave there, and then they go to Krunching Rally, which is just on 3 mile. Very good stage. It actually caught Catherine McCord out in 2019 in this direction. On the last stage, he was leading the rally, and on the second last corner, he rolled the car, and he didn't finish, obviously, and then. That's a very interesting story, because getting onto the stage, Catherine was leading, and I can't remember. I think Michael Carbon was second and Niall McCullough was third. But there was only like half a second or a second between the two of them. But they didn't realise they were getting fighting for second.
Aye.
And by the time they come down the stage, they were fighting for the lead of the rally. And I actually think Carbon actually says to himself he was going to just get finished, and settle for whatever it was, second or third. And then he was kicking himself at the end of the stage because McCullough had beat him and he won the rally. So no, it's good. So we need to give Cahan a mention and tell him to warn him about that corner and get it
Yes.
I think everybody's calling it Cathan's corner now. Report's corner.
Yes.
So they leave there, and then they actually gone to Fivemiletown to the high school for a regroup.
Okay.
We had to do this because it'll reveal itself now and further on.
Right.
They got to the regroup for 20 minutes into the high school where we had the service originally.
Yes. A couple years back.
They got there for 20 minutes. They leave there, then they go to Doon, which is another good stage. It's in around 3 miles as well. And they come out of Doon, and then they go straight back into Jenkin again, which was originally the first stage. So this is all within the first loop. If you get me, there's no service.
Right, there's no service, right? Yes.
So they leave Doon and go to Jenkin, which is another 7 mile. And then after Jenkin, they go return to service.
Okay.
So they have a minimum then a 40-minute service in the Ecclesville.
Right.
And it goes back out then and it starts in Doon.
Okay.
So they do Doon, and it's the same, it doesn't change. And then they go into stage 7, which is Jenkin again, but it's shortened. The third version is shortened.
Right.
We can cut out a loop in it, and it shortens it to about 5.4 miles. The strange thing about Jenkin, Kevin, is it's a surface that's been there for years, and it's like an older sandy. It's not, well, sand may be the wrong thing to use, but it's like an older gravel, and it's all baked.
Yes.
But the loop that we're using for the third time round, it doesn't really cut up,
Yeah, it'll be as good
because
for the
it's so
third.
fast.
Yeah.
It's so fast, it can't really get a chance to cut up, in the bit we're using.
Yes.
So, look, everybody is quite aware. Jenkin makes the rally,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's good to get a third run through it. There's no doubt because the Spectator is so easy for them to get in and everything, and it makes it all worthwhile. And so they leave there, and then they go back to Mullifad, which is the short stage. It finishes down to the forestry houses. The last stage, ironically, again, is Krunching Rally, which was the last stage in 19. So we had to fire that up at the end, maybe a wee twist, but no, that's the last stage, then Krunching Rally, and then they go back to the Ecclesville for the finish.
Right. And what a fantastic facility there, the Ecclesville Centre for your start, your finish, your service area. Like that, for a clubman event, it's right up there, isn't it?
It is, look, we were so blessed to have the school in Fivemiletown for the last, it was 19 and 20. We actually run the whole event from the school in 20, the start, the park farm, the scrutiny, everything.
Okay.
But look, the way the things went, the Education Authority actually done a whole new job on the pitch that we used.
Right.
And the money was spent on it. They couldn't let any traffic on it. It made sense. And
it's understandable,
we're disappointed to lose it. And look, to be fair, we're disappointed we're not able to have the service in Fivemiletown, Kevin, because it is the Fivemiletown rally.
Yeah.
Look, we spoke to the Ecclesville and Colin there, he's a sound lad, hey, and we come to an agreement. It's actually an equestrian centre, as you know, and there was a lot of people in and out getting, lessons and horses, and so we had to actually Roisin, the girl that does the horses, she was very, very helpful too, and she cancelled our bookings for that day. And so hopefully it works out well, because there's actually a forest up the back of it that was used years ago. Omagh Motorclub ran a sprint in it years ago.
Okay.
So there's actually, I think it's 1 or 1.5 miles. So never know what can happen in the coming years.
The radar's been lifted there.
There could be a sting in the tail of a super special or something, and the rally. Look, it's all about looking forward, isn't it?
Yeah, and you talked earlier there about always trying to raise the bar or improve things. Like there's a vital cog in all this is the sponsorship. Like Martinez has just helped this club so much over the last few years. Look,
it goes without saying. I think everybody realizes that Martinez is from Lithuania. We're in Tyrone, But look, there's a big link in there. Mick McCullough from Euro Sport. Without Mick, we wouldn't be doing this. And it's simple. In 19, the rally hadn't run. I think there's 3 years, and I had been helping out the club with the bushwhacker. And it all come down, and I says, look, boys, we need to run Fivemiletown again. That's like the boys will tell you that Adrian Hamilton actually made a comment on Facebook, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was the best rally in Ireland, you know.
Yeah.
I know everybody has their own special wee rally, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I says this rally needs to happen. So we put a team together, and to be fair, everybody pulled their weight, and I'd be right in front of me, Mick, and I was talking to Mick one day, and he says, you run Fivemiletown as we're running it, yeah. He says, well, look, give me a shout and we'll talk about maybe sponsoring it. So I went up when we met Mick, and Martinez come on board, and sure, look, he just went from there to now, you know, and look, he couldn't be more helpful. He's bringing over his car to do the event, and he actually come to the Bushwhacker that year as well, if you remember.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And he brought Yanis over in
2 years.
2020,
Uh-huh.
who won the rally.
Yep.
I think that was quite a shock because nobody knew who Yanis was.
No,
but
that's guy come out of nowhere.
just out of the woodwork.
And also that year too, like in 2020, they had the Fiesta N5 over for Patrick O'Brien as well too. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Patrick used the N5, which was a very impressive car.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually quickest, I think, on 2 or 3 of the stages, and then he actually slid off and Jenkins and got beats, but he got out again. But the time was gone, and his rally was over. But very impressive car. They actually have built 2 or 3 of them since that, and they're coming more popular now.
Brilliant. And like, you know, with the whole COVID thing and one thing and another, as spectators walking along now at the weekend as well.
Without a doubt. You know, you need the spectators. That's what the rally's here for. I know it's here for the competitors enjoyment, but it's for the spectators as well, for the show, you know. They're definitely more than welcome. All the information will be posted online.
Brilliant.
For them closer to the end of the week.
The
maps and the programme and so on. There's loads of spectator points, good safe places, and look, we know we've seen it in Galway, we've seen it everywhere. There's more spectators now, so because of COVID being kind of all the restrictions lifted and they're allowed out. So we're just put a wee message out there to ask them to listen to everybody and stand in, because if we don't, the stage doesn't run.
Absolutely, yeah. Safety is paramount, isn't it? Really, you know. So
that's safety is the biggest thing around the rally. You know, if we have the Motorsport UK safety delegate coming over, and if he comes over the radio and says that the stage can't run, that can't run, nobody can argue.
There's no arguments there. And like, you know, we'll talk about, you know, who do we expect to see on the stages? You know, we're guessing there's going to be a stellar lineup. This has been regarded now, as you mentioned, Adrian Hamilton's then. It is regarded up there with the Bushwhacker as one of the best forest events. Well, definitely in the north, if not all Ireland. Yeah,
it is for sure. You know, we're not releasing every list as a mark of respect to the McCarthy family, so we're not going to release it till later on in the week. I know people from had to see it, but they can see the received entries, so they can kind of put it together. Also, the received entries there to be seen. So, look, I think I counted the other day. There could be anything up to 16 or 5 or something like that on it. The usual suspects. So there's Cahan McCourt, obviously. Desi Henry. You know, you have Mark Donnelly. He's coming back out again. Mark Donnelly from, as we call him, from Greencastle.
Yes.
He won the Bushwhacker, if you remember back with Stephen Hamilton in this 20,000.
That story, that Mark story, yes.
Vivian Hamill, he's going to be a surprise because he's coming on a right-hand ride money WRC.
Oh, right, yeah.
Vivian Hamill's our five there recently. I think he'll have a shock. Jason Mitchell, coming back. Obviously, he hasn't had many finishes recently, but he went to the Galway Hills and was putting it up to the locals in Scotland.
Yeah, and like his first stage in the Bushwhacker was very impressive there as well too, wasn't he? So
Gareth Mumnia, another new man in an R5. He showed a good time in the first stage in Clarny. He did have a slight off in the second one, but he done no damage, so he'll be coming.
Excellent.
Yeah, Martin Cairns back in the Fiesta WRC. Conor McCourt. Conor is coming on school again, and we get rally in Clarny.
Right. Okay.
So he'll definitely go hard, you know. And he's always steady Eddie, as he calls himself, and he's always there.
But he's always there at the end, isn't he? Yep.
You have Gareth Sayers, another local man, R5, and was good. He actually was leading Fivemiletown a few years back in an Evo, and I remember he was leading the rally, and his clutch went or something, and he went down to the last stage, and they pushed him off the start line, and Enda McNulty and him actually led the rally then after, so went who was quickest in the first stage. So I know Gareth goes well as well. Look, and you have Niall Henry, Conor McCrossan.
Yeah,
you have a load of R5 men there, like, and you have Marty McKenna and all them boys.
Aye, so
but then sure, look, the two-wheel drive thing is just crazy in Fivemiletown. Like,
yes, that's up there, isn't it? Again, like up there with the Bushwhacker, it's the one that them guys all want on the sideboard, isn't it? That true?
It is. I think everybody knows who'll be coming to two-drive car. You have Martinez is coming on his rear-wheel drive BMW. Everybody wants to see the noise of that thing.
Yes.
You have David Condell. He won the two-wheel drive the last time.
Mm-hmm.
In 2020, you have David Crossan,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Frank Kelly, Adrian Hillerton, Shane McGirr, Mickey Conlon, John Gordon. You know, it goes on and on.
If you set out to organise a rally and if you wanted, if these were the guys you were going to pick, you've just named them all there, haven't you?
Exactly. Couldn't ask for any better to drive in,
That's for sure.
And them boys, they all know that they have to go at it from the start because every one of them is as mad as each other. And they know the same story, you know what I mean?
Yes. Because it's normally at the end of the rally, it's like 2 or 3 seconds. At most, maybe separating 2 or 3 of them, So.
That's true. And because of Fivemiletown having maybe a couple of shorter stages than usual rallies, they go for 2 or 3 stages without knowing who's leading.
Yes.
And then it's they're going into the 4th stage and they're like, oh, we didn't think we were going to be 3 behind here. We need to go at it, So it makes it even a wee bit more interesting, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Fivemiletown's set to be another fast race. Those guys are going to go hard in their local event. You can be sure of that. And with Samsonas and that rear-wheel drive BMW as well, it's going to be one for everyone to look forward to. But I guess with Rally Sweden coming as well.
Mm-hmm.
So second round of the WRC with Craig Breenan, Paul Nagel leading a whole list of Irish guys over there, and yeah, it looks like we're in for a treat with plenty of snow this weekend in Sweden, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it's great to see a proper snow event again now, because Sweden over the last couple of years has sort of struggled a wee bit, with the lack of snow and one thing and another. So, looking promising now for the weekend ahead. Now they've moved it to further up north. I can't remember the name of the town now, Omagh or something, isn't it? They've moved it up north.
Yeah, I think it's 500 kilometers further north, and I see they've run into a few problems with reindeer. They're that far north, so no, here it's going to be a good one, and with the 2 Sebastians dropping out for this one as well, it really mixes things up.
Also becomes a bit of a sprint, like with losing the 2 stages now, it's down to there's 7 stages on the Friday, which Friday is now the longest day. And then there's only 6 on the Saturday and 4 on the Sunday. So it really is going to be a sprint rather than a prolonged fight.
Yeah. And Craig's going to be running second on the road, isn't he? Because Roving Para took points off him on the power stage.
Yeah.
So, I know snow can be a wee bit like gravel. It's never the surface gets cleaned off. So it's going to be interesting just to see how Craig deals with that as well, too, running so far up the order.
Definitely. I think there's 125 kilometers on Friday, so that's when Roving Para and Brain will be opening the roads. If there's fresh snow as well there, you might hear more about that with Tim later, but it definitely makes it more difficult, and it drops to below 100 kilometers on Saturday then, and obviously Sunday you have only 4 stages, so for sure it opens the doors for the likes of Lappy, who's coming in for his first drive of the year. He always goes quick in snow, and Evans as well. He had an issue in Monte Carlo. He went off the road, so I think those 2 guys are maybe going to be the ones to set the pace on Friday.
I wonder though, will Lappy, will team orders come in? Because at the end of the day, if Lappy's only a part-time driver, and it's going to be Callie and Evans. Evans has to pull something out of the bag here. This is a key rally for him to get his championship underway. But I wonder, will team orders come in and Lappy be told to back off if he is heading his Toyota teammates?
Yeah, and then Hyundai, the variable there, disastrous, maybe too strong a word, but like Monte Carlo didn't really fall to them at all. But maybe that'll be a benefit to them now, for like road position could be key for them now on Friday, especially. So.
And I think Tannock's not going to slow off any if they're having problems. He's going to probably go all the harder. So, you imagine if he stays out of trouble, he's going to be near the top as well. But I think it's probably a massive event for Hyundai if they have another shocker, let's say, with Tannock especially. You really hope that situation doesn't spiral out of control. But who knows? You could come away from next weekend with Tannock on the top again, and everything's shifted. So that's all part of sport, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I seen recently, Hyundai has started testing in Finland. Now it's their second designated base. Yeah. So they've been up and them kind of conditions now testing as well too, which you have to imagine is going to play to their favour now as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Should do. And then you have young Solberg, who technically it's a home event for him, so again, maybe he'll be a bit more comfortable, a bit more relaxed in the car, and it might all come to play. But the other thing too, whilst the hybrids have been tested in these conditions, they've never actually been rallied competitively in these conditions, and we're looking at temperatures below 15 degrees, minus 15. So it could be very interesting how the hybrids, they had some issues in the cold in Monaco, Monte Carlo, and what do you call it? I'd be curious to see how they perform.
Sure. And we can't forget M Sport, what a start to the year for them, and their own Craig Breen and Paul Nagel, they're running number 2 in the road. Like a dream start for M Sport.
Yeah, if as Connor mentioned, if there's the cold weather brings another level of uncertainty and another challenge to engineers. If Sport looked to have started with the most solid car with the least issues, if that carries through this weekend again, they could be onto a winner. But yeah, definitely, I really do think Craig seems to like these Scandinavian rallies, so if he gets in the ball quick and the Pumas is solid as it looked in Monte Carlo, it could be a very interesting one from an Irish point of view.
Absolutely. And we have to talk about all the other crews from these islands over there competing. A stellar lineup, it's going to be almost like walking into a service park back home, isn't it?
You're right.
There's what I don't know. Well, you've obviously the young fellas. You have Josh McAlean and in WRC2 now, and William Creighton and John Armstrong are back in junior WRC, and I think there's a few other guys out as well in different cars and different categories. So yeah, plenty to watch out for, and again, have to be very proud of our RV Island shining on the world stage.
Absolutely, and we can't forget, the quiet man of Irish rally, Eamon Bowen and MJ over competing again. Like Eamon just keeps appearing, doing these events, no fuss, no bother, just gets on with it, doesn't he? So
class, isn't it? Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah, so I was talking to William actually last week after he arrived back home from Sweden. So he was out in Sweden with Josh McAlean and the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy guys, preparing for their first taste of snow rallying. So I think they had a huge experience. So yeah, listening to Will now and you'll find out a bit more of how their preparations went.
Yeah, it was a baptism of fire, I suppose. We started with a couple of days testing in Risna, and yeah, really lucky. The conditions were 100%. They were completely perfect. So, we really got to push the limits, and there was big snowbanks, so we could, we could learn what it's like whenever the car leans in the bank, and what that does. So, yeah, it was really enjoyable. The grip that you get on the snow with the studded tires is quite unbelievable, and sort of once you get your mind into the right way and you realize how much grip you have, you can really push on and see what the car can do. But yeah, it as I said, it was a baptism of fire onto the snow and also into the new car, and I really enjoyed the transition into the Rally 3 and the 4-wheel drive. It was a lot of fun to drive, and the car handles really well. So yeah, it was a great week. The DGM, they looked after the car, and thanks to the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy, we were able to get out there and get a few days testing. So it was really productive, and yeah, got 2 solid days to learn what it's like to drive in the snow and learn what the Rally 3 can do.
Yeah, so you were in 2 different locations. Your test was in a different part of Sweden than the rally was. Were you able to get experiences of what different conditions there might be, even though they're both on snow?
Yeah, where we were doing the test, as I said, the conditions were perfect. There was a lot of snow and the banks were high, so you could really, really push the limits and say learn what it's like whenever you touch the bank. But I don't think you want to do that too often. But it's good to know how the car reacts whenever you do touch it. But yeah, that was really good. And then we travelled south about 4 or 5 hours to a rally in Lima, and the conditions there were quite different. The the first stage was quite rutted, and I suppose that's what we're going to get in WRC Sweden. So it was good to experience that. And then there was a bit of a delay, so the stages in the afternoon actually ran in the dark, and the heavens just opened and just snowed for the rest of the day. And yeah, it was like a blizzard. So it was. So I suppose we got to experience, what it can be like when the conditions are poor as well, which was good going into Sweden. So I hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, we know what it's going to be like. And just the grip, how the grip changes whenever there's a layer of powder, fresh snow on top of the road is, it changes it quite a lot, and there's not a lot of grip. So yeah, it was probably one of the trickiest rallies I've done. So I was just I was glad to get the experience, and as I say, hopefully we don't have to use that in Sweden, but if we do, we'll be well prepared.
Yeah. I guess how's the preparations going now ahead of Rally Sweden itself?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, I suppose you're working in the off season to make it possible to go back to the JWRC. So, thank you to everybody who's supporting me to allow that to happen. It's really looking forward to another year at the World Championship, and coming in now after having a year under my belt. Although it's a new car and a few new rallies, I sort of know what to expect. So I feel a lot more confident. But as I say, it's it's a lot like starting again last year. There's a lot of new things, and anyone that goes to the World Championship are seriously fast. So we got to be at the top of our game if we want to fight with the quick guys.
Yeah. Are there any rounds in particular you're looking forward to this year?
I'm looking forward to them all, to be honest. Suppose I was a bit apprehensive going to Sweden and what that was going to be like, but now having a few days testing and doing the rally, I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know how competitive we can be when I have to be realistic, but I'll go, and with the time frame that we've had, we're as well prepared as we could be, I think. So yeah, I'm confident going into it, and I want to get to the finish and get some solid points, and I'll just do our own thing and see where we are after the first few stages, and then moving on to the rest of the year. Obviously, we've done Croatia before and done Portugal. I'm looking forward to those two rounds, and specifically, I think Portugal will be good fun. I enjoyed that last year, but yeah, I'm looking forward to them all, to be honest. And as I say, to be in the Junior WRC for another year, representing the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy, it's a great opportunity, and just got to enjoy it and try and do the best we can.
That was very interesting there to hear Will's thoughts ahead of Rally Sweden. Like, what a fantastic opportunity these young guys have been given. Like, to go out there and test for a few days before and also do like a small rally in the area as well. Like, it's dreams come true kind of stuff, brilliant to see. So I also caught up with last week was Paul Murphy from Gazoo Toyota Racing. Paul is one of the development engineers behind the new Yaris, and I think you'll find this very fascinating to hear what he has to say.
Yeah, it's exciting because it's a new regulation, and it changes things a lot. You're used to looking at a set of regulations for the past 4 years, and even beyond that, the regulation changed in a certain amount of ways, but in reality, it was always sort of the same thing. Some different things in there, but generally all the same. But then I suppose when hybrid came along and space frame came along, it really did change things, because you had I suppose more to think about. Teams were trying to reduce costs of certain parts, so there was weight limitations put on parts. There was we didn't quite go down the R5 road of cost limitations, but there was definitely weight limitations put on certain parts. So yeah, it was exciting from the start, because we had a lot more to think about. You have the hybrid system, you have the EV mode, the electric vehicle. You have to think about that as well. How to drive the vehicle with the electric motor. You've an awful lot of things to think about there. And there's new concepts. How do you do your power steering? How do you charge your batteries? Do you have 2 batteries instead of 1 battery? How do you charge your battery in EV mode, because your battery is needed for your cooling fans and your pumps for your electric system? How do you do the power steering system? Do you have 2 steerings? Do you have 1 steering pump? Do you have an electric steering pump? So there was all that to sort of think about, which we never had before. That was something I suppose I was involved with quite a lot from the start, so that was quite interesting. And then you have the space frame side of things, where I guess you have some parts of the space frame that are safety critical, and you have other parts that are structure critical, for the stiffness of the car, general mounting points of dampers and things like that. And I suppose you could really save a lot of weight that way if you let's say you forgot to put in some bars here and there. not the safety critical bars, but the other bars that aren't mandated by the FIA.
Okay. And so, going by that, there's very little carryover really from the 2017 spec car then, really, is there?
No, not so much. I'd say the most things we carried over were the technologies from what we had from the suppliers that we used on the 17 car. So we would have predominantly kept a lot of the same suppliers, and we know their technologies, and for sure we learned a lot from the 17 car that we corrected on this car. So yeah, there was. I was actually thinking about your question about what we've carried over, from the 17 car. As a pure carryover part, not much, but certain aspects of it,
Yes.
I'm actually struggling to think. I know things like steering rack, very very similar to the 17 car, but a design changed for this installation, for this packaging installation.
Yeah.
I suppose the biggest thing we would have carried over would have been the cooling package.
Right.
17 car, the radiators, the intercooler, the fans. A different installation, but very similar to 17 car. But there would have been quite a lot of development put into that on the 17 car. So something that was working quite well on the 17 car. So that would have been a carryover item.
Yeah. And
everything else has had a tweak, or I suppose you could say on the 17 car, we never really had the chance to do any real weight saving from the start. It was such a new project and new team, new people. It was just about getting a reliable car out there. And then once you're homologated, it's much more difficult to save the weight because you're into jokers. I suppose with this car, we concentrated very hard from the start to keep the weight down. We pushed very hard in that area, and I think for sure you can always do better, but I think we're quite okay on that front at the minute.
Yeah, and as an engineer, is this something you relish being involved in a project like this? Is this why you love being involved?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's probably the most interesting project I've been involved in. I mean, most of my work before this was, it was race or rally orientated or testing orientated, where you're looking at a small area of the setup. Or I suppose this from start to finish was from what we had as nothing to what we homologated. So yeah, that was definitely very interesting. And you kind of, I think we were saying earlier, it's hard to stop at 5:30, but you kind of didn't let yourself stop at 5:30 either, because you were always thinking about either you had maybe some reliability issue that you were trying to fix, or you had an idea that you thought, timing now, what about timing? Have we time to design this, to make it, to prove it? And at some point that timeline, you have to draw a line in the sand and say, right, now we need to get serious about
I have to make it.
managing on this part and getting it homologated, making sure the car's reliable. But at that point, I think last October we were still trying to find ways to do new things. But I think definitely there was a few times around Christmas, coming up to Christmas, where I especially was heart palpitations over, are we going to get these parts in time? And I think with the COVID as well, suppliers, not being able to deliver in the time that they informed you they would deliver.
Right.
Maybe you think, oh, maybe we should have stopped the Imagineering, maybe,
Oh,
2 months before.
earlier or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And this new hybrid system, will it be tailored to each individual event? The hybrid system you will go to Sweden with, will it be significantly different from Monty, or will it be?
no, it's not. So yeah, generally the maps that you have are homologated from the start.
Okay.
You can change, I think, once per year free, and then after that you need to be considering software jokers. So yeah, generally we have 3 deploy maps, 3 regen maps, same as everybody, and it's up to I suppose how you use those during the event. So it's Sweden, I would say, is going to be traction limited, going to be grip limited. Monte Carlo generally wasn't grip limited. So you might see a different way of deploying compared to what you would have seen in Monte Carlo.
It's still within the parameters of what you had originally. Yeah, so.
Yeah, exactly. It's not so big a difference to be honest.
Yeah, and whenever the 2017 car was being developed, Tom Fowler said that the biggest area for development in that car was the aerodynamics. Where do you see the biggest area of development in this new spec car?
Must be the hybrid, and getting maximizing that. I suppose Monty was difficult for the hybrid because it was brand new for everybody. But I think things for the hybrid are only going to get harder because you're going to go to, hotter events. So you're going to see really who's done a good job on the hybrid system when we get to the hotter events. Because as the hybrid can only work in a certain amount of constraints, and one of those constraints is temperature. So if you're overheating, your hybrid's not going to work, or it's not going to work as effectively as the team that's managing to keep the battery temperature within the manufacturer's range.
Right.
So Portugal and Sardinia would be interesting.
Definitely. Yeah, I like 2 or 3 degrees of temperature can make a vital difference really at that level.
Yeah, because we have certain parameters that we must work within, and we don't. The hybrid basically derates.
Okay, right.
So that'll be interesting. The further we get into the season, that'll be interesting. You've done a good job on that.
And then the flip side of that, in colder conditions as well, like the likes of Sweden, will that could that possibly affect it as well?
I think the things that you might see in Sweden are I don't want to say too much, but yeah, you could see, snowfalls,
right.
Cars traveling at quite high speed. Where does the snow go?
Right.
The snow build-up can block things.
Right.
So yeah,
we just need to be watching out for things like that then too. So.
Yeah, there can be things like that can happen. You can end up having worse cooling in Sweden than you could.
Right. And as we've seen the start of the year in Monty, 3 teams went away and built cars to this new spec, and how evenly matched. I know how Hyundai's had their issues or whatever, but to be within, let's say, a second a kilometre of each other, it's fascinating to see how that has happened with completely new regulations, with 3 completely different design teams. It's just, I think it's going to be fascinating to see how this battle plays out over the year.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting. I think the big one will be, it's hard to call it after Monty, and it's even more difficult now going to Sweden. Okay, you've got road position now to play with in Sweden, and I think that'll be a big thing for hybrid as well, is who's done the best on drivability. You could have a really good hybrid system and be first on the road, and you could you could really make a big difference from having a drivable hybrid system, or let's say having a drivable hybrid system that's integrated into your ice package. So yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, it's not going to be boring. You're going to be looking forward to the rallies anyway.
Yes, for sure. Like, Monty was fascinating to see how it all played out, wasn't it? Like it really was.
Like Monty definitely wasn't boring. It was probably one of the most interesting rallies in a long time. Okay, you got the load factor as well coming back and showing us all up, but it was definitely interesting.
Wasn't it like a fascinating story? Like this man who, part-time driver, come back after spending 2 weeks driving around in the desert to come back and do what he done. Like,
he had a good January, didn't he?
He did. He did.
He had a really good January.
Yeah.
I don't think there's too many people have done that.
No.
Only second on Dakar.
And
then he came back and
won Monty, and then Race of Champions, he won that then as well too. Yeah, definitely a class act. And like you're going into Sweden now without OJ in the team as well. That's going to be the first time now in a couple of years as well too. So that, I know you still have Evans and all them guys. I think still it's going to be a wee bit of a loss for the team there as well.
Yeah, but it's also for the other guys to step up to the mark now. There's such a rejuvenation in all these drivers who now want to win a championship. I suppose they always thought every year it's my year to win the championship, but now it really is. You've got all these guys that have been there or thereabouts for the last 3 or 4 years, and you've even now got Calais, who I'm sure is quite capable of winning the championship. Even Craig has to be thinking about winning the championship. That's how open it is. Anybody could win it, I think. Especially when we get into the reliability side of things. Who's going to be reliable? Who's going to have who's done the best on the hybrid system? Who's going to get the most out of the hybrid system?
Kevin, that was an interesting discussion you had with Paul, and very interesting what he had to say about the temperature. So we'll be very, we'll be watching with bated breath how the cars get on in Sweden, the hybrids. You also caught up with Tim Hoare, the Michelin Motorsport manager for Northern Europe. I know there's been a lot of videos out there recently of the guys out testing in the snowy conditions, and we saw videos from Will and from Josh, and it's just fascinating how they can keep the cars on the road with the studded tires. And Tim filled us in and give us a bit of insight how that happens.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been watching the videos myself. I suppose the secret to the ice rallying is the stud.
Okay.
It's all about the stud. And if you think the whole weight of the car is sitting on these tungsten tipped studs, so that's driving a lot of force through a point. So that's giving you grip on the ice. So that's how it works. I mean, the grip, the braking and the acceleration on ice with these cars on these studded tires is, it's greater than they have on gravel, and it's less than asphalt. But it's a pretty good grip they can provide.
Yeah, because we think of Sweden's in previous years, they've been amongst the fastest rounds in the World Championship, and that, to me, that just blows my mind. We think here if there's a shower of snow, nearly the country comes to a standstill.
Yeah, but it's the ice really is what's delivering the grip.
Okay.
What you want really is no snow and all ice.
Oh, right.
Which is why it's such an advantage to the guy running maybe a little bit further back in the running order, Not ideal.
The top guys is clearing off the soft surface as such.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not ideal from an Irish point of view for the WRC round coming up. But look, I suppose he has had the benefit of starting a little bit further back in other years. So
it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Really, I suppose. And then
but I think big sweeping effect. What you want is a completely clean sheet of ice to present to the stud. That would be your ideal platform.
And in all our events, like in tar and gravel, there's different compounds. Is it the same one with a snow tire?
No. The actually, this rally is the simplest rally of all from the point of view of the teams. There's no choice for compound. There's no choice for size. There's no choice for studded or non-studded. You're obliged to use. Everyone is on the same tire. I think it's 24 tires they have for the weekend, maybe +4 for the shakedown. So it's the same tire for everybody. Everybody will be on the same tire, and it's a case of the only adjustment they have is pressure.
Okay. And then, well, next obvious question: does tire pressure? We've seen them. We start like a tarmac stage. How crucial it is to have the correct temperature, and is it the same in snow as well?
Well, I think you have to think of the tire in this type of rally as just being a vehicle for carrying the studs.
Uh-huh.
So you want a good, stable platform. So it would be up towards the higher pressures, but again, that will depend on the team and the driver. I mean,
individual, is it kind of individual feeling really more than anything else? Is it? Yeah.
Begin to guess, but certainly you want a very solid platform to plant the studs into the ice as firmly as possible, and you don't want any movement once the stud is in the ice. Because that'll feel like movement in the car, and it just will affect what the driver can feel. So ideally you want a complete sheet of ice and a very stiff stud going into the ice and gripping. That's, obviously it's a balancing act. The guy at the front gets a very clean sheet of ice, but it's got snow on it.
Yes.
The guy, as you're coming along, the snow is being brushed away. They're getting better grip on the ice, but the ice is becoming more broken. So everyone is being presented with a slightly different role in this rally. But, there is a sweet spot, I think, somewhere.
Isn't we often associate that with gravel. We never think of it snow. When there you are, there's obviously a cleaning effect as well too. So that is amazing.
Well, it depends on the weather as well. I mean, maybe let's see what the weather brings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you had somebody on here from one of the teams, they would have a different view on it. Maybe they would want more snow, less snow. Maybe their car works best in different conditions. And that's what they've been doing for the last few weeks. They've been testing in different conditions. They don't have a choice of the length of stud either on this event, so they will all have the same stud length.
Okay. Yeah.
And the ice racing takes place in non-WRC rallies like the national championships in Finland and Sweden. They have a choice of stud length.
Okay.
And no different to a rally, no different to Galway or another rally in Ireland. It's all about stud length. We speak about compounds here for slicks.
Yeah.
The talk there is all about stud length. And it's normally much longer than what they use in the WRC as well.
Okay.
So it's up to 9 mil they can use on the national events.
Yeah.
But this rally traditionally, I don't know how it's going to happen this year, obviously, because we can't. It'll pan out the way it pans out. But Saturday was always a big day in this rally for conserving your studs and conserving your tires, because the longest loop is on the Saturday traditionally. Mm-hmm. It's, I think, 2 20-kilometer stages and 2 10 or 11-kilometer stages. So that's a lot of running on one set of tires. As far as I can remember, they can take a new set of tires every time they go to service on this event. So the tires will be quite fresh. But for that loop, it's a very long loop, and it'll be all about conserving your tires. And there'll be a lot of drivers out of the car, rotating the tires around back to front, moving them around. I think they're sided tires. I'm not 100% sure what the Pirelli is. I presume the same as ours. It's a sided tire, left and right. So they'll be moving the tires around quite a bit, and they'll all take 6 tires as well, I would imagine, on that.
Okay. And then, as same as gravel or tar, is there drivers that conserve their tires better than others?
Oh yeah, certainly. And if the gravel begins to peek through as well, that's going to have a huge influence on it, because that can damage the stud, and it'll cause the stud to move a lot, and maybe even cracking. Who knows?
So that's all has to be factored into the equation as well. So it's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot to it. I mean, these ice tires, they're the technically most difficult ones to make for us. Uh-huh. But for the teams and the drivers, I think it's the simplest choice on the event. In terms of they don't have a choice.
No, it's black or white. It's black or black. Never mind, So.
Like in the case of Michelin, the tire has to go through an awful long road before it goes on a car in Sweden, or Finland, or wherever it is.
Yeah,
like it's made in the factory in France. It's shipped to Sweden for studding. There's a separate company that does the studding for us. Studs are made in Finland by Vipertech.
Yeah.
Studs then have to be transported to Sweden. The glue they use is like McDonald's magic sauce. Nobody, that's a very closely secret. And the two brothers who own that company, I'm sure, keep that very close.
Of course,
Yeah. So yeah, they're very complex tire, and a lot of logistics in the background to get them to the event. But on the event, it's actually very straightforward.
So that was very interesting from Tim. Like, you know, as they say, every day is a school day, and it definitely helped to dispel some of the black magic around tires in my eyes, anyway. You know, so hopefully it's done the same for yourselves. Right, into this tricky part of the show once again, where we start making a few predictions. So we'll go top three for Sweden, and we'll start with Adam. What's your thoughts on that?
Top three, right? So, guess we were chatting about the road cleaning, so I think that puts a disadvantage on Rovanpera and Brain. So I think as well, Toyotas, you know, they're back into these high speed rallies. They're going to be hard to beat. And Lappy coming back as well. He did so well in the Arctic Rally last year in WRC 2. So to be honest, he's maybe my man this weekend. But I do think he's going to maybe have to play some or listen to some team orders as well. So I'm going Elfyn Evans to take his first win of the season, with Lappy just behind him, and then Craig Breen again putting in another strong performance to round out the podium.
Connor, your thoughts on
it? I'll go with Rovanpera. I think he'll, despite the fact that he's road sweeping, I think he'll it's not going to be an issue for him. I think he'll keep the lead. I think Breen will come in second. And I think Evans has a lot to prove and needs the points, and Evans will be there for third. I think it'll be very close between Breen and Evans. So that could change. It could be a Toyota 1-2 followed by a Puma, but hopefully Breen can get higher up the podium.
Yeah, it's going to be another fascinating event, I have to say. I have to side with Adam. I think Lappy is coming in there, going to have a lot to prove. You know, will Rovanpera or Evans get close enough that, you know, to justify team orders? I don't know. Hyundai coming back with a lot to prove there too, you know. I'm going to go Lappy. Tannic would be for second. And
yeah,
I'd love to see Breen getting third, but Neville maybe for third.
The only thing I'd say about Lappy is he has the advantage because he did the Arctic Rally in the Rally 2. And no center diffs, etc., which will help him coming into the new hybrids. But the hybrids, the extra weight in them, he doesn't have the experience of throwing them around. At least the other guys have had the chance to do that in Monty, so could be interesting. And then I still think team orders are going to come in there. I can't see them letting Lappy take points off Evans or Rovanpera.
Yeah, but they're not going to bring him from first to third to let, you know, to let Evans or something go up, you know, into third or something like that. At least to be either, you know, for the one or for, you know, for position overall. I don't know. It's going to be interesting anyway. And then 5Miletown. We'll go for overall and two-wheel drive. So Connor, you're shouting it.
What do you call it? I tip Desi Henry take the win. And I think Cahan McCourt will be not far behind. And I wouldn't rule out Connor for McCourt either for a second place there in the Skoda if it all comes together for him and what do you call it, depending on the weather conditions. But yeah, I think Desi Henry, I'd be fairly confident. Two-wheel drive. Ooh, toss a coin between John Gordon and Frank Kelly.
Okay. And Adam, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I can't really argue with Connor's picks. He gets first shout. We'll give him that. No, I think overall maybe one fella that could spring a surprise is Jason Mitchell. He was a bit unfortunate in the way that Bushwhacker ended for him last year, and yeah, he's a bit more mileage under his belt, and I'm sure he'll go hard in 5Miletown. So yeah, he'll maybe spring a surprise with the other guys.
And two-wheel drive, what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'll go a bit safer and go for David Crossan in two-wheel drive. He was the man to beat in Bushwhacker last year, so yeah, I think he'll maybe lead those guys on Saturday.
And the Crossan, it's unbelievable. Like you know, a 2-liter car against most of these other guys now, and you know the 2.5s and things. and like the speed he carries is just, it has to be seen to be believed.
Yeah, no, all those guys are quick and
Yeah.
in their gravel cars. No, it's class, but yeah, who knows? Like, there's so many guys in two-wheel drive there that could come away with the win.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see. Like I spoke to now, and like the 5 Mile Town Rally is becoming almost second now to the Bushwhacker as the gravel rally that, you know, that all these two-wheel drive guys aspire to having that trophy, really, you know. So myself, overall, Vivian Hamel and the World Rally Car, the Mini, could be interesting to see how he settles into that, you know. Catherine McCourt, you know, this Fiesta, will it come good? Desi Henry, you know, it seems to, you know, 2 1s and 2 rallies in this car is settling in well too. It's great to see. So I think probably play it safe and go Desi Henry too. Two-wheel drive, again, you know, there's 10 guys there. I think they're going there for the one, like Shane McGurr, local man, you know. Frank Kelly, you know, probably has done these stages a good few times now at this stage. But Crossan, I think Crossan, he has been, you know, the man to beat in the gravel now for must be 3 years now, probably at this stage. Like, and he's proved it not here. You know, he's went over and competed now in the UK, done some of them Welsh events and one thing and another, and the time to set over there has been blistering as well. So yeah, I think Crossan's going to be the man to beat. So
yeah,
right.
We've made one huge mistake. I was just realised it.
What's that?
We forgot the BMW.
Oh yes. How could we do this? Yeah.
He's definitely going to be in for the two-wheel drive when if not even further up, going by his usual record. I think he's in good form as well. So no, I think Samsonas could maybe be the
absolutely
beating two-wheel drive.
Huge error on our behalf there, right? No,
Certainly overlooked that. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, Samson is probably if he's there at the end, he's going to win the two-wheel drive. And as you say, how far up the order can he like the angles he threw that BMW around? It's always, and the sound. Oh my goodness, the sound.
It's worth going to 5 Mile Town just to hear that. Don't even need to see it. Like, if you can hear it from a forest road nearby, you'd be happy enough, wouldn't you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's all for this episode. So once again, thank you very much, and take care. Speak soon, and bye.